Earlier on today, the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, as well as Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, appeared in the Randburg Magistrate Court. Let's touch base with our reporter, Mbali Thethani, who has been there. Now, Mbali, a very good afternoon to you. If you could give us an idea of exactly what has transpired since this morning when Julius Malema and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi came out of a court today. They addressed the crowds and they were questioning why it is that there needs to be an application for media to cover this particular hearing. What has happened?
That's right, Tammy. Of course, the trial for Mbuyiseni Ndlozi as well as EFF leader Julius Malema was expected to get underway here at the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. But because media houses brought through their applications this morning, the magistrate would not allow us to broadcast these proceedings. So for most of the day, we had the magistrate dealing basically with these applications which have been brought by media houses. We know that he has asked for 24-hour notice before media houses can stream these proceedings. And of course, because of COVID-19, Tammy, we know that courtrooms are quite very small, and this sort of media trial, or rather trial, has brought on a lot of media attention. So we saw a very packed courtroom inside here at Court 13 at the Magistrates Court in Randburg. So we saw the magistrate here in the morning dealing with that media application, but he has just delivered his judgment. He just delivered it about 10 minutes ago, Tammy, basically saying that the media houses, especially Newzroom Afrika, which brought about this application, they will now be allowed to broadcast the proceedings. But it gets tricky where the magistrate says that, but we are not allowed to stream those services live. So it is a bit confusing there in terms of the judgment which has been brought about by this magistrate, where we are being allowed to bring in 2 cameras which will be stationed here at the courtroom, as well as record the proceedings and broadcast it, but also not stream it live. So we still need a bit of clarity there from the Newzroom Afrika lawyer. And of course, that lawyer is also representing ENCA as well as SABC, Tammy. But we now know that come the 28th and the 29th, this specific trial will be broadcast, and he's only allowing a limited number of journalists inside. There will be 1 journalist from Newzroom Afrika, and then onwards, it will be like the space available will be on a first-come, first-served basis. But he wants us to adhere by the COVID-19 regulations. But also, he had some very harsh words for the media, saying that he is utterly dismayed by our way of asking for this permission, saying that today was expected to be the trial of Julius Malema as well as Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and it was not a day that he should have been dealing rather with an application brought by all the various media houses.
I've been going through some of the tweets, Mbali. Specifically, I mean, you tweeted a little bit earlier on that journalists had to go in one by one and give a motivation to the judge why you wanted to cover this particular case. And some of the responses from your timeline and some of the questions that have been asked are quite interesting. We've got Umashuru asking, is the case not of public interest? Others asking if this is standard procedure. Could you perhaps outline that for us? Is it standard procedure for an application of this nature to be made beforehand?
Well, Tammy, according to the rules and regulations, as media houses, we are expected to apply at least 24 hours before that person makes an appearance before the courts. But courts differ and they vary, and most of the time you'll find that some media houses will bring through this application on the morning and also then speak to the various parties involved, and you may find yourself being allowed and given permission to broadcast these proceedings. And this happens a lot as well at the High Court, but the rules and the regulations are standard, that because of, especially now during COVID-19, Tammy, as well as just the rules rules and regulations regarding this, and of course the media coverage, and of course the media interest in matters like these of public figures, they are asking media houses to also adhere by those rules and apply prior, because another issue that they had is that the prosecution team said that one of the witnesses did not want to appear on camera, so because they said that they fear that they might get threats after. And this is something that the magistrate also touched on, saying that, well, I cannot make a ruling on threats that may happen. But when he did give his judgment regarding the broadcasting of these proceedings, he did touch on that some people don't feel comfortable giving their testimonies on camera because they fear that they may be attacked in public. So the issues around those witnesses, it can be recorded, but they don't want us to be able to show their faces. So there is the whole issue of people's safety as well, Tammy. And of course, when you see issues of this magnitude, where you have public figures coming to court, especially during a time of COVID-19, these are the rules that have to be enforced.
Now, Mbali, when we heard Julius Malema addressing his supporters outside of court a little bit earlier on today, he did make mention of the fact that the officer in question who actually laid that charge does not want to be victimized in any way, and therefore he wants to remain incognito. Are you then saying that even when this case is broadcast come the 28th and 29th of October, that that particular police officer will not be shown on camera?
Yes, Tammy, and that's something that the magistrate did stress on, that they cannot invade your privacy, especially if you have noted this with the prosecution team and with the state, saying that you don't feel comfortable with your pictures being shown on camera. So this is something that they have been dealing with, but they do say that on the day of this trial, when it does indeed get underway on the 28th, that specific witness who has asked for their face not to be shown on camera can then we will only then hear the voice of that specific witness. And there's also the issue around security, because we do know that that specific witness also works for the Presidential Protection Unit. Because of the kind of job that he does, it also means that he does not want his face to be shown on camera.
Thank you very much for that update, Mbali. That's Mbali Thethani outside the Randburg Magistrate Court, where Mbuyiseni Ndlozi and Julius Malema appeared earlier on today.